Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live chat. I'm super excited to be here. It's Thursday, 3 p.m., so that means I'm going live to talk about something quilting. And I just have to tell you all, today has been the best day in a long time. Not just because the weather is phenomenal, but our website, which had been down for like 9 days, is fixed. It was a little bit of a hallelujah moment today. So much joy. So anyway, if you've been trying to access any videos, anything, it's all fixed and ready to go. And don't you just love technology? It's just great, isn't it? Until it doesn't work. I'm excited today to talk a little bit about Build a Quilt. It's our Block of the Month program, but it's totally unique to us. So there's some different things I want to tell you about. Kind of talk a little bit about the fabric design process. And if you're watching live, you can type your questions in the chat. And Jessica, who's always here to kick the spammers out and to write your questions down. That way I can answer them live in our chat. And then at the very end, I have a little teeny little sneak peek for the next free motion challenge. So I'm super excited about all the things that are coming up, especially with a functioning website. So lots of joy going on here today. So for those of you that haven't heard of Build a Quilt, that's our Block of the Month program. And I like to say it's like a block of the month, but better, because we do it all in-house, from the fabric design, for the pattern writing, to all the different layouts. And it's really fun because it works a different part of my brain. I love machine quilting. That's my first love. I love teaching machine quilting. That's also my first love. But sometimes when I can sit at the computer and be creative in a different way, it's so much fun. So the reason I'm talking about Build a Quilt now is because registration only opens up once a year. And this is that time of year when it's open. It actually starts November 20th. So if you want some more information about it after I show you all my pictures, you can click the link in the description box below and it will take you right to all the information about Build a Quilt and if you're interested in it. So Build a Quilt, our block of the month, is basically where you get the fabric and pattern for 10 blocks. So this one-time registration fee is going to cover the pattern and fabric for 10 12.5-inch blocks. And depending on how you participate, whether that's in-store or online, you're either going to get them in the mail or you're going to pick them up in the store. So if you don't live in the Liberty area outside of Kansas City, that's okay. You can move here. It's beautiful, like part of the year. Not all the time, but you can do our online registration where you pay a one-time fee and we'll mail the blocks to you every month. You get happy mail in the month, and I'll show you what that looks like here in just a second. And for our folks that live overseas or not in the US, we also have an international option as well. And that works a little different, where we send all the fabric and then email you the patterns. But all that information, like I said, is on your website. And if you do live in the area, you're fortunate enough to live in the heartland, you can do our in-store option where you can come to our monthly Build a Quilt meetings, which we have at our event space. Now, even if you don't live in the area, we'll still put our meetings on Facebook Live. And so it's like you're there. It's like you're participating with us. But the one thing that makes our Build a Quilt unique, besides the fact that I write the patterns for the blocks and all that, is that you get your choice from 3 different colorways. So when I started coming up with Build a Quilt, I'd actually never done a block of the month before, and Joni, who's our BAQ maven, was like, oh, we should do these options. You know, it kind of evolved to where now you get 3 different color options. So you sign up for one. You sign up for registration and you pick which colorway you want. And all 3 of the fabric collections I design and we produce here in our area. So first of all, petals and lace. So it's difficult designing a fabric collection. I don't know how Tula Pink puts out such gorgeous stuff all the time. I mean, she has so much skill. But when I sit down and I'm thinking, what kind of fabrics do I want for Build a Quilt, I try to have a range of options. The hope is, if you don't love one color, you might like the other color. And for the first time, this is our 6th Build a Quilt, and for the first time, we're having purple. So petals and lace is the purple option. That was just for Joni, who was like, please, come on, give us purple. We haven't had it. So really florally, really pretty purples. I wanted it not to be like Barney purple. Not that there's anything wrong with Barney purple, but I wanted something a little bit darker, a little bit more sophisticated, just a little bit more, I don't know, saturated. And so the petals and lace colorway has some dark purples with some pretty tonal prints. Again, there's that petals and lace influence. I want it to be kind of floral, but not flowers everywhere, you know, so a little bit of geometric prints. And then maybe floral prints that aren't expected or what you normally think of. So cherry blossoms or prints that kind of have that hint of floral look without being like, hey, I'm another flower. And then there's like hints of mint in there. And a question came up before, is this the same mint that's in the Luminous fabric collection? It is not. So this is a bluer, cooler mint to kind of go with those pretty purples. And then some more blenders, just again, kind of using that floral as an inspiration. And this collection, and here's the main focal print, this collection was probably the one that stretched me the most because I'm not much of a floral fabric kind of person. I love to look at it, but it's not my first inclination, and purple's not either. So it was really fun to kind of stretch that purple area of my brain that hasn't been used in a long time. But for those of you that are like, no purple, here you can see the blocks in the different colorways. We have option number 2, which is our Westward collection. Now, if you did the previous Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along, you probably have already seen these, but they were so good to not use again. And so we're talking teal and watermelon, kind of veering off of the purple, still staying kind of cool with little hints of color. And so think geometric, think blues, think kind of Southwest a little bit, really pretty graphic prints with punches of color. Now, each colorway has 9 different fabrics, and so kind of giving myself those constraints to come up with 9 cohesive prints in a collection that are different from the other collections or even the other previous years of Build a Quilt is also really a nice challenge. It kind of stretches me a little bit. And this teal wood grain is probably my favorite in that collection because, you know, I love me some wood grain. But also those kind of tonal, pretty, I don't know, blender prints. I love blenders because they're just so easy to use. And then there's that focal print with just a little hint of pink, just a bit of pink, just a little bit there. But what I love about it is the different colors of fabric make the blocks look totally different. So depending on the colorway you pick, your quilt's going to look different than maybe the person next to you. And then last, I thought I had Westward was the first one. I'd kind of already had that taken care of. Then Petals and Lace was the next one. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do for the third colorway? And so thinking grays, which is my color. I love gray. Gray, just everything is so fun. And just a pop of gold, that kind of mustardy gold that's really kind of popular. And kind of, again, going with the geometric designs or things that are a little bit more abstract. So kind of like designs that are just more textures, more tonals, nothing recognizable. So the blenders on the left are the kind of background, but this one is really one of my favorites. And these are kind of blown up so you can see the print. This is not to scale, a little bit smaller than that. But I just love that kind of, I don't know, that ombre look, but the geometric and a little bit of gold. Yellow and gold is not a color I normally veer towards, but it's a lot of fun to, again, play with different colors. And then combining those cool grays and the yellows to make some geometric, pretty blender prints. So this is going to be for those quilts that you don't want them to be too feminine, for lack of a better word, and quilts that you just want that little bit more graphic tonality to it. And so a little bit of gray, a little bit of swirls, and then this is that focal print, which is one of my favorites. To me, it kind of looks like ripples in a pond, and so that one's probably my favorite of that collection. Working on the different collections is kind of like a stop and go process. I'll work on one and I'll get stuck. So best thing to do when you get stuck is just to avoid it. So then I'll go to another one. But once I finally get finished, it's always kind of like this nice, I've got it done. And then I can kind of see the 3 different colorways out there. I'm like, these are now my 3 children for the next year. So if you decide to do Build a Quilt and you sign up for the registration, then you get to pick which color you want. And I have quilters that will do 2 of the same one or do multiple if you feel like you want to commit to that. But it's a lot of fun. But if you do Build a Quilt, I want to show you real quick kind of what you can expect. Now this is from last year's Build a Quilt. I don't have one from this year. But you get this in the mail, and it's the fabric and the pattern for a block, and this is kind of like a Build a Quilt unboxing. But the patterns always fit on a sheet of paper. They're always color. And then Build a Quilters will always let me know what they want, and pretty quickly they told me they wanted some cutting diagrams, so really good instructions there. But here is the piece that makes me so excited about Build a Quilt. The thing that makes us so different is since we produce our own fabric, I design it, we print it, it's all done in-house, I can make panels that have all the fabric that you need for one block. So when you get your little block in the mail, you get your panel that has the fabric that you need, and then you can take it out and iron it and cut it and make your cute little block. And what's nice is you get plenty of extra since I use the whole width of the fabric. So that's really nice. You don't have to go find all the fabric that you have and cut it up. You can just use that little panel. So if you're going to retreats or sew days, you can just bring your little block and have it ready. I'm a sucker for little packages, all kind of nice in a row. And so that always makes my heart very happy. And on our end, it does cut down on cutting mistakes, because they're all the same. And so the ability to do that has been really fun and really kind of cool. So that is what your Build-A-Quilt block will look like. Now, we do have some other options or other things that you can get with Build-A-Quilt. First is the Oops Kit. So all the fabric for the Build-A-Quilt will be online. So if you're like, I don't want to do Build-A-Quilt, but I love me some purple, then you'll be able to buy yardage. But I know what happens when we're trying to make a block, right? We're at retreat, we're talking to our friend, we get all caught up in the gossip and make a cutting mistake or a piecing mistake. And so we've put together these Oops Kits, and you can see the picture on here, but this will just kind of give you an idea, that has a little piece of each of the prints. Sure, you could order, a half yard or yard of fabric, but if you just need a little piece, this Oops Kit is going to be the way to go. And so that also came from our Build-A-Quilters that were like, hey, we want to be able to fix any mistakes or make customizations. Just because I design the blocks and the fabric placement, you might not like that. You can use your Oops Kit to change that out, and we have one for each of the colorways. These are available for pre-order. They are not going to start shipping until a couple more weeks, November 20th, but you can go ahead and pre-order those if you want. And there's one for each of the colorways, and it has, like I said, a 13.5-inch piece of each of the prints in the colorway. So a nice little Oops Kit, or if you're like, ooh, I need a last-minute quick quilt, you've got a panel that's nice and easy to put together like that. Now, another thing that we do that's slightly different with Build-A-Quilt is we have optional layouts. So that initial registration gets you the blocks in the pattern, but you're going to do something with them, right? You want to put them into a quilt. Well, you can create your own quilt if you want, buying yardage and using a pattern that you might have laying around, or you can purchase one of our optional layout kits. Now, there are 3 different options. So if you think about it, 3 options in 3 colorways, that's a total of 9 different layouts. But those are available in May, and then we announce what they look like in April. So this is just a quick mock-up of one of the layouts that will be from a prior Build-A-Quilt. And so it includes all the fabric you need for the quilt top and the binding. So it's kind of fun because you can then pick which layout you like the best, or, like I said, make your own. And again, just like the blocks, it's amazing how different it looks in the different colorways, right? So abstractions, westward, so fun. So I thought, well, real quick, the layouts will include the fabric and pattern for the quilt top and binding. And there's usually a question, I'm sure Jessica might have already wrote this down, how much are the finishing kits going to be? What sizes? Well, I don't have those finalized yet, but I will tell you that they're going to range from about $75 to $105 for the kit. If you choose to buy it, it's optional, you don't have to. And then usually in size, I try to have 3 different size options, a quicker, smaller quilt and then a bigger one. So anywhere from twin to queen, so some different options there. But since we do sell the fabric, you can make them bigger if you want. And I know it's hard to imagine what are those finishing kits going to look like. That's always a big deal in April when we roll them out. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's see what they look like. So I thought I'd show you what last year's looked like. It'll just give you an example of, what the difference of the different layouts. So I try really hard to make sure that there's one that's easier to put together. There's one that's maybe a little bit more labor intensive, one that's smaller or bigger. And so these were the finishing kits for our Holly Jolly colorway last year. So 3 different options there. So again, really, really fun way to create your own kind of custom quilts. Could you see those pictures at all? Oh, I forgot to switch to the pictures. I'm sorry, you guys are probably listening to me talk like, what is going on? Well, here's the Oops Kits. Did we see those? I'm sorry, y'all. I went to the screen and then didn't go back to it. So we'll just click through these pretty quickly. Rookie fail. So those are the Oops Kits. Here's the optional layouts. There we go. My bad. That's embarrassing. So this is the one I mocked up that we can kind of see what it will look like and then in the different colorways. So there's the westward and there's the abstractions. So again, really fun way to take your blocks and make a quilt that could look completely different from the next ones. And we saw this, it can include that. I'm just clicking away over here and nobody could see anything. So my bad, you guys. And then here are the examples from last year. I'm sure you were thinking oh, that quilt is very intricate. I can't even see it. How weird. So these are the examples from last year's Build a Quilt, just to kind of show you the different options. So this one was really easy but cute, and then this one was a little bit bigger, a little bit more intensive, but still lots of fun. So wow, sorry about that, guys. You know, just clicking the wrong button, not switching back. So again, what's really fun about Build a Quilt, it's a way to like make a quilt one block at a time. You get them kind of in the mail, but there's no pressure. It's not like, oh, you have to bring your finished block to the meeting, or you're not going to get, you know, ridiculed or made to feel bad. I have a motto that I don't let my projects make me feel bad about my quilting time. I just know that they're there when I need them. So again, this is going to start November 20th. You can sign up now. There's a link in the description box below. And to kind of like, I don't know, kick off the Build a Quilt, and I'm so happy that the website is working. I can't tell you how great that is. I'm going to do a giveaway, and I'm going to give away an Oops kit from each of the colorways. So 3 lucky winners. I didn't even tell Jessica that. She just gave me the eyebrow raise like, okay, all right. So all you have to do is, after I'm done live, go ahead and leave a comment on the video telling me which colorway you like, and I'll pick a lucky winner next week's live chat to give that away. So whether or not you're signed up for Build a Quilt, so that's going to be lots of fun. What I love about what I get to do is it's so varied and so different. Any day, I never know really what's going to happen. Am I going to be in the shop? Probably not, but sometimes. Am I going to be doing a training session, or am I going to be working on our Block of the Month program? So it's a ton of fun. So have there been any questions, Jessica? Questions are probably like, hey, what is up with those layouts? I do have an amazing staff, by the way. When we start cutting either challenge time or Build a Quilt finishing kit time, it's like a cutting area in here. Okay, $75 for 10 months, question mark? No extra fees, question mark? Yes. Since we do all of Build a Quilt ourselves, since I write the pattern, we print the patterns, we do all of that, we're able to do it cheaper. And so that is the price. And I try to work in the one-time registration because some people think that's monthly, and that is not it. So it's $75 for the online option, and you get 10 blocks mailed to you. I mean, you cannot beat that. And then you have the option to sign up. Plus, forgot to mention, we do exclusive Build a Quilt stuff too. So like I'll have exclusive projects, special deals. Sometimes we'll use the Oops kit to make a fun little project. So it's a really fun little community. We've got we'll make a Facebook group, and it's just a good time if you're interested into that. When can we purchase extra fabric to make our quilt top bigger? We're probably looking at next month. So once the Build a Quilt rolls out, we get it going, that first block goes out, which is always kind of the kickoff to the year, then we'll put them on the website and make that available. And so you'll be able to purchase the fabric before you can purchase the finishing kits. Now, another thing, it's so funny when you haven't done something before, you don't know how you're supposed to. And so when I was working with Joni on Build a Quilt, she said, well, at the end, then we can give them finishing kits. And I'm like, well, why wait till the end? They could start working on them now if they want. And so we thought we'll launch them halfway through the year, because usually that's about how long it takes me to get those finished after I've launched Build a Quilt. So that's why we do it a little bit earlier, but it is available for a little bit longer too. Questions? Does the Westward collection match the most recent panel challenge? Yes, it's the same exact prints from that challenge. Not all of them. The Westward fabric collection that went with the Fillers challenge, I think had 12 or 13 prints. And so I picked a couple different ones. And then I also added one. The blender or the background is a light gray because none of the prints in Westward really worked for the background. So good question. All right, this is a good one. This is the one where people are always like, do I sell the BAQ patterns without the fabric? We do not. We made a decision that we kind of like it being an all-inclusive thing, a happy thing in the mail. That's why we still print out the patterns and don't email them, except for international customers, because shipping is just a cluster. So no, we don't. I'm sorry. It's not fun. All right, I live in Scotland. Lucky. Well, would it all arrive at once? Well, I would be willing to bring it out to you because I have always wanted to visit Scotland. But if you click the link in the description box, it has info sheets for each of the options and then also some more information. So if you don't remember this, it's okay. But how we handle our international Build-A-Quilters, in the past we would send out the blocks each month, but they get lost so often. So what we do now, this is fairly recent, in December we'll send all the fabric you need to make all the blocks, and then we'll email you the pattern monthly to make the block with us. So it's a little bit different, but after dealing with the shipping stuff, it was either change the way we do it or not offer international options. So that's kind of what we settled at. So Doing Build a Quilt is a lot of fun for me, and like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me talk about it. I try not to make these live chats so salesy or so like product driven, and so normally I talk about techniques or things about machine quilting. If you have a question I didn't get a chance to ask, you can leave that in the comments, and I get on there from time to time and answer them. But before I let you go, I'm gonna do a quick little bitty sneak peek of the next Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along. This is always a very busy time of the year for us because Build a Quilt launches, getting that all ready, and then usually we have a challenge kind of towards the end of the year. It's just a great way to kind of celebrate the holidays for yourself. And so next week's live chat, fingers crossed, provided everything comes in, everything fleshes out the way it should, I'll be able to announce the next Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along. And that's a free video series where we work together on a project. And I'm not gonna show you the panel yet, but I will show you the name of it and what we're going to be working with. So the next challenge, if I can get it, will be Mandala, the Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along. And what's going to make this a little different, a little fun, oh, my little face is covering it. Well, there's an M right there, just pretend. See if I can move my little head. There we go. Oh, I'm going off the edge. There we go. So Mandala Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along. We're going to be touching on motifs, but I'm also going to be doing something slightly different. Instead of having like a theme or something like we're going to learn swirls or feathers, I'm going to quilt this panel and you're going to quilt along with me. I'm going to show you how I would approach it. So we're going to be doing a range of stuff, but with the emphasis on motifs, but I cannot wait to show it to you. In fact, it is right over there waiting for me to quilt it. So exciting. So anyway, I cannot wait to share that next week, provided everything goes well. So again, if you have any questions about Build a Quilt or you're interested about learning a little bit more about it, you can click the link in the description box below, and I'll see you next week. Well, I'll get to announce, hopefully, the challenge, and we'll get to talk about what that's gonna look like for that free video series that we'd like to do together. So everybody stay safe, have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.